In this lesson, we're going to talk about starting your screen print business or your clothing line with $2,500 or more. Everything you would need to start a full-fledged, full-time company, either on a budget or budgetless. Let's go over everything you will need. I do have a PDF presentation, a link down below this video or up on the top in the lessons material area. And this is screen printing, so we're going to need an assortment of screens. Everything from 110 to 156, 190, 230. There's very little occasions in which you would use a 305, but for the most part, you're going to be using 195 or 200 mesh for your white base and 230 for your overprint colors. So just start there. Get more 230s than you would 195 or 200. You can never have too many screens, to be honest. But if you're limited to this $250 budget, then I would say get you a good setup of maybe 6 to 8 screens, a 156 for your base, a 195 for a white base, maybe even a 110 to do some metallic prints, and then the rest 230s, maybe 4 or 5 230 screens. So that way you can do multiple color jobs, anywhere from a 1 color job on up to 6, just depending on what size press that you get. In this aspect, more is more. Next is emulsion. Emulsion is a pretty standard consumable within our screen printing businesses. So I would start out with a diazo emulsion because it is more user-friendly and you will be able to expose halftones. However, a photopolymer is great for exposing screens fast and doing simple work that doesn't require a whole lot of detail. Next, you're going to need a scoop coater. A scoop coater is used to get your emulsion onto your screen. Don't do anything silly like buying some sort of garden pan or using cards to scrape it on. You want to be fast and efficient at this point. And a scoop coater is the best way to coat screens. I mean, you can coat 10 screens within a matter of minutes and set them aside in your drying rack. Speaking of a drying rack, you can either construct a drying rack or buy them. I personally chose to construct my own. You will need a place to store your screens out of the dust, out of the sunlight. And we'll cover that some more in future lessons, but keep that in mind. An exposure unit. Moving forward, I would stick with a reputable brand such as Anatol, M&R, maybe even Ryonet. They make some really great equipment and you're going to start seeing pricier pieces of equipment. And these things will last you for years, if not decades, if maintained properly. All the latest craze lately is the LED systems. However, LEDs, they will expose it fast, but they don't really produce the best results when it comes to halftones. But I think most of us starting out will be doing pretty simple stuff anyway, so there's absolutely nothing wrong with the LED system, and it gets the job done fast. There are multi-bulb fluorescent tube setups which are great as well, so spare no expense when it comes to your exposure unit. Although my first exposure unit, I think I paid $1,800, and I was able to expose manual size frames, which are 20 by 24, as well as automatic size frames. And as your business grows, you'll want to scale that up too. So you might want to consider getting at least something that will expose a 23 by 31 automatic frame while you're in there spending that money on a good unit. Your screen printing press. This is where a lot of the magic happens, to be honest. You're setting up 1 to 6 color or even 8 or 10 color jobs. There's manual presses, there's automatics. Starting out, I would say get a manual. If you have enough clientele to justify an automatic, get an automatic. Just skip the manual altogether because you'll be able to produce 300 plus shirts an hour. However, starting out with a manual is a good stepping stone in order to build up your client base and go from there. I'd get at least something with 6 colors, 4 stations. A 6 color 6 station would be great. And if you can afford more than that, then get an 8-color, 8-station press or an automatic. Completely up to you and your budget. Do you struggle with separating your screen print art? Let me quickly show you how Action Steps separates your artwork. Let's dive into the computer. I have Adobe Photoshop open. Action Steps is a Photoshop plugin. We'll go to Window, Actions. We'll load up our Action Steps plugin. We'll click this hamburger button right here. Go to Load Actions. We'll find Action Steps and click on Button Mode. First thing I want to do is create a proof window so I can compare my separations to my original artwork. Now we'll come down here to where it says Start Action Steps and click on that button. And just like that, we have our separations ready to go. If we go over the channels, you'll see that we have 9 separate colors, but let's say we only have a 6-color press. So we'll click on this little button right here that says 6-color press. Now we've effectively reduced it down to 6 colors. Here's our white base, our red. There's really no blue in there. We'll just leave that off. Click on yellow. We got a cool gray and a highlight white. In this case, we could just click and drag this blue separation into the garbage. And now we have reduced this down to 5 colors. That was pretty fast and simple, wasn't it? Instead of spending hours separating artwork. Not only does Action Steps come with a Photoshop plugin, but it also comes with a training course teaching you how to use the actions, but how to screen print simulated process step by step, from installing the actions, adjusting your separations, what mesh count to use, the best type of emulsion, to screen printing your art on press. I leave no stones unturned within this training. You also get access to our Action Steps members only group, which is private and just for you guys, where you can go and ask questions and get answers to your questions. And you can interact with other members that are having success and pick their brain. Don't just take my word for it. Check out Kyle's prints. He knew nothing about screen printing, found Action Steps, and has since scaled his business from a manual press to an automatic. Or Matt Eball, who had never printed simulated process and is now kicking out some pretty awesome prints. Action Steps cost less than a tank of gas, and it's a one-time fee. It also comes with a 100% satisfaction guarantee, so you have peace of mind. Click the link below and learn more now. This sale won't last long, so click the link below and see how Action Steps can help. We'll see you on the other side. Squeegees, you're going to need an assortment of squeegees. For the most part, just stick with 70 or 75. That will be useful for most all situations. An inkjet printer. Your inkjet printer is going to be used to put your art down on the film, so that way you can expose your art into your screen. If you can afford a large format that can handle a 17-inch roll, that's great. All you really need is something that will do a 13 by 19. I'd stick with the Epson brand. They're very reliable. They produce great quality pieces of film. I wish I could go over every single printer model that there is, but there's so many out there. Just do a little digging on the old interwebs and find something that will suit your needs. Ink, I would stick with Plastisol ink. Plastisol ink is really easy to cure and it doesn't require any fancy equipment such as a forced air dryer. Plastisol is a lot easier to work with, and most people still want Plastisol printed shirts. A flash, you're going to need a good flash dryer, and this flash essentially, let's say you print down your white, you're going to need to tack that up, almost like putting white primer on your wall before you put that color down. So you would print your white ink, use your flash to get that to about 230, 260 degrees towards where it's dry to the touch, so you can print your overprint colors on top of that. And this is one aspect towards where you want something that will be able to handle your graphic, and even a bigger graphic than you plan to offer. So if you plan on printing graphics that are up to 12 inches wide by 15 or 16, you want to be sure that your flash can handle a 14-inch wide design by 20 or 22 inches tall. So depending on your budget, that one's going to be completely up to you. This is where getting into using a conveyor dryer. And again, with a conveyor dryer, a flash, your press, stick with a reputable company such as Anatol Cryonet, M&R, there's Vastex, there's RAN-R. Even if you're not getting everything within this budget and your budget can only afford the press, get the best press that you can afford. Don't forget to check the used market, because these things will last you a long time, a long time, if not decades, without any service needed. When it comes to reclaiming your screens, you're going to need a power washer to reclaim screens quickly and efficiently. You'll be going through screens quite a bit. I've always stuck with the Ryobi 1600 or even 1800 PSI power washer. They would last. We could run those things almost every day, all day, and they would last a good 3 years at times. Sometimes I might get a crappy one. It doesn't last very long, but I never really found an instance where I needed to spend $1,600 on a industrial style pressure washer for my screen print business. And those things are like 150 bucks, those little Ryobis in that presentation and in the links that I provided. Once you're finished with those screens, you're going to need a place to reclaim those screens that isn't your driveway, and you can do it in a legal manner. So you're going to need a washout booth, even a filtration system. For the longest, I'll have a tutorial on that, how to do your own kind of DIY filtration system for cheap, for like around 150 bucks. But there are expensive units out there that are around $2,000 that do a thorough job and will meet your regulations in your area and pretty much anywhere in the world. And you'll also need chemicals in order to remove those inks, remove the emulsion, degrease your screens, and to be able to reuse those screens. And I'll have a list down below or up in the lessons material area as to some of the items you need, and it's going to be on a preference basis. You might try something and you're like, I don't really like this, and then you get some chemicals from another company, you're like, I really like this. It's going to be completely preference based here. So that's going to do it for the $2,500 above budget. At that point, you're talking about, you could invest a lot of money. But if you're strictly sticking to $250, just be smart about your purchases and keep in mind that a lot of these things do last a long while. Either buy it nice or buy it twice. We'll see you in the next lesson.